Okay, let's call ourselves to order. Meeting of the West Newbury Board of Selectmen, August 3rd, 2020. It is now 7:07 p.m. This meeting is being broadcast on local cable TV and recorded for rebroadcast on the local cable channels and on the internet. Meeting is also accessible by remote participation through GoToMeeting. The phone number for GoToMeeting is 872-240-3311, and the access code is 720-457-421. As a first announcement is and Angus maybe can give us some more updated information on this. This is from a few days ago. The Pentucket School Committee is going to review the reopening plan of the schools in relation to COVID tomorrow night at 6:30 p.m. Angus, do you have any more updated information?
I could summarize what's in the memo, and I did get an email from the superintendent this morning, although I have not yet received the proposed reopening plan. So basically, as you said, the school committee will meet tomorrow. They're going to meet in the school cafeteria of the high school at 6:30 p.m. to review the proposed reopening plan, or plans, I should say, for each of the schools within the district. So as of late last week, I spoke with the assistant superintendent, and their plan was to circulate the proposed reopening plans late in the day today to teachers and the teachers union and others for review. The school committee will meet tomorrow evening to review and is expected to vote. As you may know, under the state restrictions or requirements, they have to submit their reopening plan no later than this coming Monday to the Department of Education. And it's expected that this Wednesday, the superintendent is going to host a online forum to receive community feedback regarding the reopening plans. So as of this moment, we haven't received the reopening plans, but that's what we know.
Thank you. So anyone, is that a meeting that people will be able to log into, or?
They, as of late last week, the committee wanted to convene in person because of the importance of the vote, and because I understand they've had some challenges with the online meetings, including because there's not Wi-Fi access there in the high school. So last week they said they were intending to live stream the meeting, so they are intending to make it viewable by the public. And I did not honestly think to check today to see if they posted remote access. So maybe Jenny, if you could check that during tonight's meeting, and if you find they have posted, if we could let people know that. As of Friday afternoon, it just had the Pentucket website just had the meeting location. It didn't have anything about remote access.
And if I'm not mistaken, the Massachusetts Teachers Association has voted not to have in-class schooling. Am I right in saying that? Or that probably be something that will be brought up tomorrow night.
I don't know if they have.
I don't see how that would, Glenn, they might have voted that way, but I don't see how, I don't think it would be binding on a local contract with a district.
Mm-hmm. I got you. I know. Somebody has asked me if the I guess there's going to be 3 proposals, and it was on social media today that. So if we don't have them, it would be good if by the end of the meeting, if those are out, people would like to be able to look at them so they could have some substantive discussion or even questions for tomorrow night's meeting, and so they can review them. They just don't want to be able to be told them tomorrow night during the meeting. I guess the superintendent said they would be coming out earlier. So if we do find them, if there's any way you could send that to me so I could forward that to the people who have asked me.
Oh, can I hear him now?
Yeah, I'm on the Pentucket website right now, and it's the same information as last week. It's just got the
Okay.
date and time of the meeting, but no further details. But there may be something on Facebook that I haven't seen.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay. On Thursday, the 6th at 6 p.m., the Board of Selectmen are going to have an additional meeting to go over some plans for the West Newbury Riding and Driving Club and the West Newbury Youth League that are planning to have events in September and October at Pipestave, and how we can manage the parking situation, how we can manage having the events. Can they be simultaneously done simultaneously? All those kinds of things in the age of COVID. So we're going to discuss that on Thursday at 6 p.m.
Hold on, Archie. I would ask that let's bring some good decision in compromising minds to that meeting. I like to come up. I don't want to have a meeting and not come up with some good results, if you know what I mean. I don't want this. It seems like these meetings happen and we just keep on pushing it down the pipe. Let's everybody come to this meeting that we're going to make some type of decision, and people, they might not like it. If everybody doesn't like it a little bit, that means it's a good decision.
Agreed. The tree committee is having an informational session on the emerald ash borer on Wednesday, August 19th at 6:30 p.m. I see Fred here. Fred, you want to tell us more?
Sure. As you know, the emerald ash borer has hit West Newbury pretty hard this summer. It takes a few years after an infestation starts to really see the results. And Wayne has been pretty active in getting the tree experts to analyze what's going on at Pipestave and Mill Pond. But that's public properties, and we have an awful lot of ash trees on private properties in town. And we estimate that, and I've checked with some of the Bartlett's folks, maybe 15 to 20% of our forests are ash trees. Certainly more in some locations, less in others. So one of the things that the tree committee is wanting to do is to reach out to homeowners, because we have an awful lot of ash trees on private property. And in keeping with our mission of education and advice, we have we'll have a couple tree experts on this call. It's open to everybody in the community to log in. There's a GoToMeeting set up, and the invitation and the links are put up on the West Newbury Tree Committee website in a couple different places. And it was I think an email blast went out, but it didn't have that information. So they should go to the Tree Committee website. And this is a great opportunity to find out all sorts of questions like, how do I know if I have it? If I have it, what are my options? Do I have to cut down my trees? Can I treat them? And, or should I leave things alone? All that sort of stuff. But we certainly do need to have a coordinated community-wide campaign to try to cut down on our tree losses for this. It really is a scourge that's hitting the area. And we'll also have some state forestry people on the call as well.
So again, that's Wednesday, August 19th at 6:30.
Yes, and it's residents can also send, and we encourage to send questions they may have to the West Newbury Tree Committee emails address, which is again on our website, so that if there are questions that need a little looking into before the meeting, the experts will be able to do that.
Good. Thank you, Fred.
And I would just note, there's a couple of ways to find that information on the website. As Fred said, it's on the tree committee page, and they also set up an event on the town online calendar for August 19th. So if you click that event, it's got information with login and so forth. So we're supporting the committee and printing some flyers that they'll be circulating around town as well.
And I just would mention that at some point we may put together a plan that will involve the Board of Selectmen directly, because this truly is a community-wide issue. You can't sort of fix your little spot in town and think it's going to take care of everything, because we obviously have a town-wide problem.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes.
I'll explain. So this is on our agenda tonight, under I. And I'm only saying this so people like, they don't have, Fred doesn't have to hang around until I think that the update from the tree committee to Emerald Ash Borer and upcoming informational forum on August 19th covers the regular business portion, and you had in your announcement. So can we skip I, so Fred might not have to hang around and probably for an hour or two?
Oh, that's the plan. Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, I've said everything I can say.
You got it.
Which is a rare event.
Fred, what color is the emerald ash borer? Is it emerald?
Yes, indeed. It's a gorgeous little plant if you're an entomologist, and it's a insect. But you really have to look for the damage it's doing to the trees. You won't ever see the ash borer itself, because once it emerges as an adult, it hangs around the crown of the tree far above where we can see it, and it mates, and then it dies. The female lays eggs, and then takes a couple of years for the larvae to do their damage.
I can't help myself. Mr. Chairman, I have to ask you a question. I've been traveling in Newburyport a lot because I walk in Newburyport on the rail trail a lot. They have a lot of burlap wrapped around their trees on 113 with like wood coming up. And I never asked, every time I said, I'm going to ask somebody about that. So what is that? Is this for this reason?
I've been asked that same question, and I have no answer for you. And I will find out.
Then what the heck did we appoint you to the tree committee for then? Just kidding.
Well,
Thank you, Fred.
Email blast. Just you.
Thank you. Okay.
All right.
Thank you.
Okay, thanks, everybody. Our next item is we're still looking for additional members for the FinCom. We're looking for an associate member of the Zoning Board of Appeals. That's particularly an important position at the moment. What else do we have, Angus? I forget.
So right now, there's at least one open position on the Energy Advisory Committee. Rick, is there just one, or is there more than one? Do you know?
Well, arguably, there's plenty more. But
Yeah, there's no limit.
sure, yeah, I mean, we have no limit. Yeah, we would, if there was more interest by people in the Energy Advisory Committee, if other people were interested in joining, 2 or 3 more people wouldn't hurt. But
Okay.
yeah.
Can I?
Go ahead, Glenn.
Sorry, no, I'll let you finish.
Cable Advisory Committee, Cultural Council, and Historic District Commission are also on the list with 1 or more vacancies. We have the Tree Committee, but depending on the board's appointment tonight, that may fill up that committee.
Do you have to live in the historic district to be on the historical commission? Historic District Commission? I always wondered about that.
No.
Probably not.
But I'd like to go back to Archie. But when he said, I'd like him to define that. The ZBA, we need an associate member, is very important now. Why is it important now, Archie? Because that might get people to come and volunteer.
Okay.
It's a rhetorical question, but I want you to.
The ZBA is very important now because they will be the one and only members of the town that can create actual definitive input on the 40B. If the 40B is deemed to be eligible by Mass Housing, then all the changes or recommendations that the town will have to be made by the ZBA. So that's why that will be important.
Yeah, so if somebody were an alternate or an associate member on the ZBA, they'd have an opportunity to have input on whatever conditions there are on a 40B. Should there be a 40B in front of the ZBA? And also, if one of the full members were not able to participate for some reason, then we would be dependent upon associate members who are already up to speed being able to participate.
And the vote.
And to vote, yeah.
Yeah. So that's a very important position. That's why I want to make sure we define it. Thank you, Roger. And Rick.
Okay, a reminder to subscribe to emailed town announcements, www.newbury.org /subscribe. And without further ado, we will start our regular business. First item on the is approval of the warrant for the 2020 state primary election, which is the official date of it is September 1st, 2020. So that is coming up right away. So does someone have because I'm reading this on my phone, I have to go find it. So does someone have that right in front of them, the motion?
Oh, yeah, I can find that.
Hello.
I thought I could find that.
So I believe it's, Mike, I believe it would just be to vote to approve the form of warrant 2020 state primary, which is included in tonight's meeting packet to take place on September 1st, 2020.
That's it.
Page
So
seven.
moved.
That's it.
Okay,
So moved.
further discussion, all in favor? Archibald, aye.
By the way, I second it.
Hi, can you guys hear me?
Yes.
You can, okay. My name is Patrick McCoy, and I'm new to the town meeting. I was not able to log into the Zoom, but I'm listening.
Great. Okay, you're coming up in just about one or two items, Patrick. Thank you.
Okay,
It's not Zoom,
is there
it's
a
not
login or
go to
a
me.
Zoom or something like that?
It's not Zoom, it's called a meeting.
Yes, it's all one word, Patrick. Go to meeting.com, all one word. And the access code,
Go to meeting.com.
yes.
Patrick, if you're on your email, I can send you the link right now.
Okay, either way.
I'll send you the link right now because I have your email address.
Okay, wonderful.
You look at my email?
I apologize. I've been trying to get in for about 15 minutes. So
I said, thanks, you don't have the headphones.
now I have to look pretty. Oh, geez.
Okay, Patrick, that should arrive in your inbox momentarily.
Okay, excellent. Thank you. You have my Hotmail account or my Main Street Financial?
It is
Probably the
whatever.
Hotmail. I see the Hotmail on the packet.
It went to your
I
Hotmail.
got it. Okay, excellent. I think I got it.
Right. So I think I heard a motion on the approval of the warrant for the election.
I think we all voted too.
Oh, you did?
Everyone,
Okay,
And
great, great,
Rick seconded.
great.
I made
Okay,
the motion.
got it. All right, the next item on the agenda, you have two citizens who have put in committee interest forms for the Capital Improvement Committee. That's Elisa Grammer and Patrick McCoy.
I have no
All right,
problem with
Patrick.
either of them. There's some of them that might want to speak.
How many openings are there on the capital improvement committee right now, Angus?
Two.
Oh, perfect. Okay.
And when do their terms expire?
I just wanted to, when Patrick gets back on, he had also put down that he was interested in the FinCom, so
We spent about a half an hour on the phone about 2 weeks ago. I gave him a pretty good background of both committees, including the level of time commitment and the seasonal nature of some of the committees. And he can speak for himself, but he felt CIC was a better fit. For this.
okay. So I would make a motion to appoint, we'll wait till Patrick gets back on, but I'd make a motion to appoint Elisa Grammer to the Capital Improvements Committee with a term ending, let's see.
So actually, Archie, I'm looking at the bylaw for the committee. The 5 at-large members are to serve a 3-year rotating term.
So that would be,
At the end of FY 2023.
yes.
I second.
The discussion, Elise is on the call. Does she want to say anything?
Oh, is she here?
Yeah, I
Yes.
saw her, but she doesn't have to, but I was just curious.
I would just say that we learned a lot in the municipal vulnerability to climate change process, and I'd like to take some of what we learned and think about that as we look at capital improvements.
Yeah.
That's good.
Great.
So it's been moved and seconded.
Further discussion?
Patrick,
So,
are you-
All in favor? Aye.
Parker, aye.
I would be happy to give some background to my candidacy if that's warranted. I don't know.
Is Patrick on there now? I can't see.
I think it's caller 4.
Yeah,
Oh, okay.
Sure,
Yeah,
Patrick.
I'm here.
Want to be on the CIC?
If it's warranted, I would give some background to my candidacy. I've grown up in Essex, Mass. I was born in Essex, Mass. Is this okay or no?
Yeah, this is good.
Okay, all right. I grew up in Essex, Mass. I lived in Ipswich. I've lived in Gloucester. I've lived in Salem, Somerville, Beverly, definitely Newburyport. And I recently moved to West Newbury last year. I care a great deal about the North Shore and about the environment. If that's a question, I just want to help. I just want to be helpful, and to me that means just being part of the community in which you live. I currently serve as the board president of Opportunity Works, which is a nonprofit organization in Haverhill/Newburyport. I'm also the treasurer for the Masonic Lodge in Newburyport. I just do a lot of things that I can to try to help out, and this seemed like a pretty cool opportunity. So that's all.
Well, I thank you for volunteering, Patrick. That's great. Someone want to make a motion?
I'll make a motion to, for Patrick McCoy, to be appointed to the, Capital Improvements Committee.
Second, Kemper.
All in favor?
Thank you.
Kemper,
Okay.
aye.
Rick and Glenn, you vote?
Oh, yeah, we both spoke. I'm
Yeah.
sorry, we talked on top.
Okay.
Kemper, aye.
So Patrick, you have to be sworn in by the town clerk, Mr. McCarron. So that's the next, and that's the next thing on the docket. It's very simple, but so you need to contact Mr. McCarron at some point, and in the
Okay, I can do that. So just go down there and there you go, right?
Yeah, I think what you should do is reach out to Mike McCarron, probably by email. You can go to his and arrange a time. Actually, Mike, you're on, so you could
Yeah.
maybe I should let you.
Is all you have to do is contact, say, make an appointment. We're available Monday through Thursday from 8 to 4:30, Friday from 8 to noon. Come in with a mask and a pen, and we'll let you in, and we'll social distance, and we'll have you sworn into the office and fill out the necessary forms. And the same is true for Elise, to be sworn in her position too, and she can make arrangements for that. So, yeah, that's all you
Okay.
need to do.
Cool. Easy enough.
Thank you very
guys.
much. Welcome aboard.
Thank you. I just want to help. I don't, cause problems, just want to help.
Yep, Archie, I note that Jen Solis asked a question in the chat,
Oh, okay.
and just want to give the answer is yes. If the person is in a butter to the project, also a party in interest, then they would have to recuse themselves from being on the hearing for the 40B if they were in a butter to that property.
Oh, I didn't see that, but I'm happy to recuse myself from anything.
Oh, no, it's not you, Patrick. This is a different question. This is about the
Oh, okay.
ZBA.
Sorry.
That's okay. I just wanted to answer her question. That's all. I don't know if it applies to anyone. I don't have the addresses for the board members, but it would be considered a conflict of interest.
Sure. I don't know that applies to me, but if it does, then I'll recuse myself.
No, it doesn't apply to you at all, sir. Don't worry about it. This is a different question about a different position. But thank you. You can stay on if you want and listen to us, or you can, I don't know if there's any sports on tonight, but Red Sox will probably.
Is it normal for me to stay on or no? Is that weird?
Yeah, no, you can stay on. It's a public meeting.
Absolutely.
You're
How much
certainly,
can you
certainly welcome to. If it's interesting, stay on. But yeah, but for the moment at least, we're done with appointments.
Okay. Well,
I'm
what
probably
are you guys gonna talk about next?
I'm gonna probably start juggling a little bit if that's, whatever, but
Our next appointment is Lionel Zupan to be a member of the tree committee. I don't know if he's called in or not. We have his application. Seems very would be a great addition, and I would certainly make a nomination to appoint Mr. Zupan to the tree committee.
second, Kemper.
Is he on anywhere? Don't see that. Fred, has he reached out to you?
Yeah, we've been in communication. I thought he was going to be on, but on the call, but maybe I didn't specify exactly that he should be, just for courtesy reasons. But he looks like a great addition to the committee, and so we're happy. None of us know him personally, but he seems to be have a good deal of interest and some relevant experience.
Oh, let's see. Okay. Yeah, no, Jenny sent him a note on Thursday that with the link to tonight's meeting, she had estimated it might come up around 7:30. I think we're past that. We're just past that, so it's possible he may be logging in shortly. So, but he got the
Let's make
information.
let's make a motion to appoint him so we can move this on. If he would like to speak to us later, you're more than welcome.
If we're ahead of schedule, this is awesome. So let's keep going.
Yeah, let's get going. I got some Chinese.
All right, so we had Archie made a motion, seconded by Glenn.
All in
Further
favor?
discussion? All in favor?
Kemper, aye.
Parker, aye.
Angus, can you do, my phone just kicked out for a second. I can't read my thing. You got to read the next one.
Okay, the next item on the agenda is to a request for reappointment of
Wendy Reed for associate member of the planning board.
yeah, sorry, I just noticed my TV mic was off, so I had to turn that back on. So it's a request to reappoint Wendy Reed as an associate member of the planning board. That's a request that came in from the planning board.
Okay, I'll move to appoint Wendy Reed as associate member to the planning board.
Kemper, second.
Normal operation, no restriction.
All in favor? Archibald, aye.
Parker, aye.
Kemper, aye. The next one is the signs for the Opera House roadways, Darcy.
Okay.
If you're still having a trouble getting
I'm
your,
still having a problem. So go ahead. Someone talk about it. Okay.
it's, below is the information I received from Courtney Lucy from the Opera House. Okay, do we have the locations?
We do not have a location, so
How can we approve a fictitious location? Or a virtual location? It's gonna be a virtual race, I take it, right?
that's right.
Virtual race, but real signs.
So was the plan to have people run on the same course just at any old time? Is that the idea, Angus?
Yes.
Is that what you thought?
Yes.
Well, I know where the one where all the signs go. The 1 mile sign is at the junction of Middle and Bachelor. The 2 mile is near my house on Indian Hill. The 3 mile is halfway down Moulton on the reservoir. And
Okay, so these signs aren't to promote it. These are signs that are gonna be up for the virtual race that people can run. So how long are they gonna be up?
2 weeks.
And how long are they? How much?
I think it said 2 weeks in the
2
request.
weeks.
Yep,
All right.
from October 4th to October 18th.
So I'd make a motion to approve.
A second.
Further discussion?
Yes, the only discussion would be, Archie, I've always been at the starting thing on this thing. So are the signs, when you say signs, I've never seen them. So because they're obviously up and then taken down the same day. Are they across the road or do we have to worry about them?
No, they're just small signs. I'm assuming that they're just gonna be like, this is the 1 mile marker, this is the 5 mile marker, that kind of thing. I mean,
Oh, yeah.
you know, two
Okay.
2 feet by 2 feet, yeah.
Okay, I didn't know if they were like across the road and then
No,
the
no,
wind
no.
blows them down and they become a problem for our DPW because they've been up so long. Got it. Okay, yeah. Thank you.
All in favor? Archibald, aye.
Parker, aye.
Kemper, aye.
Next item is a request for a special event permit for the Myopia Hunt Club on September 22nd. What day of the week is that?
September 22nd. I think that was a weekday.
Let's see, that I'll find it in a second. It's
The start time is 10 a.m. It doesn't say what day of the week.
Weekday.
that's a Tuesday. That's a Tuesday.
Mhm. And then will the horses, the hounds, and the make-believe fox have masks on?
No, the hounds can't have it because then they wouldn't be able to find the fox.
Good point.
I think it said that
That
they
would
would.
be bad. They'd end up at Nick's looking for a steak and cheese sub.
Yeah, well, they're great onion rings. Okay, make a motion to approve.
I'll second.
Further
So-
discussion? All
Yeah,
in
so
favor?
in further discussion, I think we need to talk about, Angus, I think he sent an email earlier. So it goes across the route as previously run, goes across the Boucher property, which is currently posted by the proposed developer of the 40B project on Coffin Street and Main Street. And
That's not our problem. We're only improving on public ways, and there might be a friendly gesture to tell them, but we can't. I mean, that's not our problem.
it would
I'm not-
certainly,
I don't think it's even rude.
it would certainly be a good gesture on the part of Chip Hall if he were to make the route available to the myopia.
I would agree with that, Rick. I'm sorry. I thought you were going to go another way. Without a doubt, that would be a nice gesture to the town. This has been going on for I can't imagine how many years, and it probably won't be able to go on after this is built, if it ever is built. So it would be enough. But they have to be aware that, you know, what's going on. Obviously, they must. It does go over private land, so they must get the approvals from those people.
Yeah, so I guess, yeah, as you pointed out, Glenn, we're only approving the crossing of the public way, but, or, you know, and whatever they have to do to make sure that happens safely. But it is important that they recognize, you know, the organizers and the participants in the event recognize that there's some question about that property right now.
Correct. I mean, someone just has to inform them and, you know, they usually have a blanket permission from property owners in the past, but this is new, so they have to know that.
Right.
They are, the organizers are definitely aware of the need for the assent of the person with the rights to the property. And we debated whether we should put this on the board agenda or not, because at this point, Chip Hall has not agreed to this, but he hasn't declined either. My understanding is the request is pending. So it seems that if the board voted it, obviously it can't go forward without the assent of the private property owners, but it would just be one less, one less step the organizers would need to worry about.
Okay.
And we do have Kathy Fury on
One of the
the
things we
line.
actually had as a comment on our comments to Mass Housing is we'd like to keep that as a permanent approval going forward on that property.
Yeah, it is kind of a cultural I mean, it's nothing I've ever participated in, but it is somewhat of a cultural institution locally. And so hopefully, hopefully, Chip Hall, whatever his involvement is now and going forward, recognizes that that's, to some extent, part of the fabric of the community.
Correct. Okay, did we all vote on that, or,
Not yet.
okay, all in favor? Archibald, aye.
Parker, aye. Glenn's muted.
Glenn?
Kemper, aye. Sorry, I was just getting some dinner.
Okay.
You don't want to hear me chewing.
Okay, is our next item the letter to Mass Housing? Angus, I can't see.
It is indeed, yes. Review and approval of draft comments to Mass Housing regarding June 30th proposal from Cottage Advisors for 40B project eligibility, site approval letter for site on Coffin Street and Main Street.
I'd first off like to thank everybody that commented. I'd like to thank the boards that redid their previous work, having to do a lot of work a second time. I'd like to thank Angus, everybody that's put a lot of time and thought into this. This doesn't happen by magic. So that's my first comment. And I don't know how we want to address this. There's a lot of I had no problems with almost anything here. I just had a couple of very minor comments. So I'll leave it up to. Well, actually, let me ask my one question, and then we can all move on. On page 46 of the packet, not of the letter, but page 46 of the packet, it talks about the pumping state, the pumping of the waste treatment, and how it would be affected by stormwater. And I don't know if I was reading that wrong, or it seemed like we're talking about two different. There's a stormwater problem, but that doesn't have anything to do with the pumping up the hill. I didn't quite understand that. It's at the bottom of page 46. Let me find it.
Oh yeah, I see what you're referring to.
There's not really any connection there, right?
Was noting that the one of the lift stations for the shared septic is located within the 100-foot buffer zone with no apparent storm mitigation. So I think would be the construction of the pump station would, I think what it's trying to say is that the construction of the pump station would be within a buffer zone, and therefore would need to have provision for mitigating the stormwater impacts. But as I reread it, I see it's not totally clear.
Oh, so you mean like the pump station, the water might get into the electrical mechanisms and screw it up, or is that what we're talking about, or?
No, I think it's just the construction activity to occur within that buffer could have erosion or other impacts.
Okay, very minor issue. Okay. I'll leave it open to anyone that would like to put comments in about our about the correspondence. To me, it's really good. Any of the people on that have that we can't identify callers, anyone that would like to comment on what they may have written in themselves or what they've read.
I wouldn't mind talking for a couple minutes, Archie.
Yeah.
Glenn. And then Glenn. So one thing, I want to thank all the abutters that let the selectmen make us walk the property, and then our walk that we had last week. It really helped being able to see exactly how this is going to affect the abutters and people's lands, seeing when the wetlands are. So there's two things I wanted to talk about, and I'm not sure. Do they, Mike? You might be on this. Is it, they have for their business address a post office box or some type of box in Newbury that don't even realize that they spelled the address wrong on Story Drive. So is that legal or legitimate? I thought their office was supposed to be a place where a real office is, that somebody can walk in, some documents, and like have a desk or so forth. That's the first one. And the second one is that during a walk last week, there is a Kathy, anyone on this, a vernal pool that might not be registered yet, and I wouldn't mind that part of, to make sure that gets done.
So if I can paraphrase, Glenn, your connection was a little spotty, but I think I got what you were saying. And so I think the first question I would direct to Mike McCarron, which is one of the resident comments came in questioning the kind of validity of the business address listed by the developer and whether that may in fact simply be like a PO box on Story Ave in Newburyport as opposed to an actual presence. And so the question is whether there's anything improper about that. Is that about it, Glenn, for the first one?
Yes.
Okay. Mike, do you have an opinion on that?
No, I mean, basically the purpose of having the address is simply that where notices can be sent. It doesn't have a, in that context, it doesn't have any, any bearing. I mean, you can have as your address, a post office box. What's wrong with that?
So it's not, for instance, if it's not a location someone could serve notice, for instance, where there's a physical presence.
The idea of serving notice is that then basically in any corporate papers, at the records at the Secretary of State's office, there is a resident agent that each corporation has to identify as the place where service can be made. So what you would do if you were serving a corporation with papers, you would look at the Secretary of State's website, and you would get that information of the person who's designated as a resident agent, and that would be the party to which you would, and the location to which you would serve papers.
Okay, so if I'm understanding you, there's not a propriety of having a PO box as a stated.
No.
I'm fine with that answer. Thank you.
So the second question Glenn asked was regarding the potential presence of one or potentially two vernal pools on the site. And as you saw from the packet, there's been some of the residents have been doing a lot of work to document the potential vernal pools and have been in communication with Natural Heritage and Endangered Species Program, which is the office at the state that would certify vernal pools. So At this point, I reached out a couple of weeks ago to see if there's something we could do to support that, and it seems like that they have a good line of communication, and sometimes it can be helpful if the town, makes an official request, but it sounds like the residents have they're in touch with the appropriate staff at the state. Obviously, if one or both of those vernal pools do end up getting certified, that has implications for, that becomes a defined resource area that is then subject to protection and setbacks under the State Wetland Protection Act. So I think it's fair to say that work is in process. And those protections derived from the State Wetlands Protection Act would not be waivable under 40B because they're not local regulations.
Okay, thank you.
I think Glenn's is good. So your feeling is everything's good, Glenn? I mean, Angus, and we don't need to supplement that in any fashion.
No, I submitted anything that I received related to the presence of one or more potential vernal pools. I sent to Bert to make sure that those are on file with the Conservation Commission, which obviously has jurisdiction. And that'll be, it's specifically built into the draft comment letter, and the correspondence that we've received would be included as an attachment to this submittal to Mass Housing. So I think we're adequately, making sure that anybody who's interested in this has noticed that this work is underway, the work to get the vernal pool or pool certified.
Good, I'm good with that one too. Thank you. I don't have any more comments. I thought it was very well done. And thank you for all your comments. I want to just put out Arthur's comments earlier about all the boards and commissions that had to do it again. I know some of them were on vacation and they came back, or they did it, distancing and took some time out. But thank you for everybody's hard work.
I notice Kathy Fury's here. Kathy, I'm glad we took the time to and you gave us the opportunity to see what we're talking about now, where the pools are. I think that's an important thing, and so it's just one more little bit of information and ammunition that we have to talk with Mass Housing about. Anybody else?
This is Kathy Berry.
Hi, Kathy.
Hi, I am hoping to go out tomorrow to check on that vernal pool to see if it has dried up, and we'll take pictures. A good percentage of it has dried up, but I have to get the final picture because I don't want it messed up at all. So I'm hoping that I will do that tomorrow, and then I will finish the application to the state.
Great. Nice. Anybody else? So Angus, what do you anticipate? What do we need to do now? You're muted.
Got it. I would look to the board for a motion to approve the letter in the form that's in your packet, or subject to any revisions you may have. It doesn't sound like you do. So if you approve the letter and the attachment to the letter of the other letters that we received from the boards and commissions and committees and residents, then over the next couple of days, my office will assemble that into a packet, same as we did the last time around, acting, personal contact information, that kind of thing, because the full packet, in addition to being submitted to Mass Housing on the deadline of this Friday, August 7th, would also be posted to the town website.
I would make the motion to approve the letter and the attached correspondence with the names and so forth, addresses redacted. So, yes.
Second.
Okay, all right, Glenn seconded. I do have comments or questions. I do have a minor question, Angus. I think this letter is fantastic. It's incredibly thorough and covers every single point that I could possibly imagine. I have a really minor question. On page 6, under C, public and private water supply, there's a reference, it's the 4th line down in C, says there are private wells near the project locus that serve local businesses and abutters. When reference is made to businesses there, is that specifically referring to agricultural businesses? The reason why I ask is because elsewhere in the letter, there was a point that, there are no businesses nearby that people could work at.
I think Kathy's referring to her stable. Yeah.
Yeah, so this is actually an Angus in the letter that that Angus has put together and that's coming from the Board of Selectmen's office.
That would be it. Yeah.
Yeah, no, that's the letter that I'm referring to.
Making point that it says that there are no businesses. And one point
I can't hear you.
that the well to affect some businesses. I think it's a continuity. But I mean, speak for him, but I think that's what the comment was.
I couldn't understand any of what Glenn was saying. Angus, did you did you understand?
I do. I am pulling, there's an annotation in there which says actually where that section of the comment where that edit comes from, and I'm pulling that up right now if I can see.
Okay.
Yeah, it doesn't look like on my iPad. It doesn't. The annotation isn't coming through, but I think that Archie's right that it is referencing. It can't, well, let me put it this way. There's a footnote in there or a comment in there that basically annotates where that comment came from, and I suspect it is referring to agricultural businesses, but I think that's a good point to clarify because we don't want to suggest that there's businesses nearby when there's not.
Well, exactly. That was my concern, is that we said previously that there are no businesses, and then
Right.
to suggest that there's private wells serving businesses was sort of counter to that.
Mm.
But seriously, I think it's a fantastic letter. It covers everything.
I have to say there was one funny thing. Someone talked about, instead of a leaching field, they talked about a giant leach field, and I pictured this leech like 30 feet long.
There's a horror movie.
Yeah. And it was eating the green ash borers. Yeah.
We only can hope.
Okay. So again, thank you all for all your hard work.
Yeah, so there's a motion seconded. Rick was during discussion, so it's still need to vote.
Archibald, aye.
Parker, aye.
Kemper, aye.
Okay, thank you.
So in light of the coronavirus situation, the thought has been to have fall special town meeting outdoors again. The annual town meeting went off very well, amazingly well attended, and the logistics worked out actually very well. So this is just preliminary, discussing it now, so that we can get the show on the road, because we don't want to have it, ending up in late October or November, just for weather concerns. So the plan would be to have it in very late September or early October. So that's the thought going forward. Angus, you want to fill in a few more details?
No, I think that sums it up. In terms of, in addition to potential date, the expectation or the assumption is it would be on a weekend day instead of a weeknight. If we do pull the clock back, 3 to 4 weeks, that creates a real crunch. So one of the first things I need to do is connect with the chair of the FinCom and find out what kind of time. I know it's always a real crunch to get the town meeting booklet done in the best of circumstances. So if we shorten the timeline, it could be a real challenge. So everything, as Archie already said, everything we're talking about is very preliminary, and we're just trying to think through how we can do a fall town meeting. And I have put out a call late today to department heads and board and committee chairs so we can get a sense of what articles may be proposed for the fall. But I think the board is going to need to use some real, judgment and try to keep the warrant to needs, not wants.
Do we need, let's ask the question, do we need a fall town meeting? Just because we can have one doesn't mean we need one. That's the first question. And then looking at October, we wouldn't have it in September. We would have it on October 3rd or on October 17th. We would not have it on October 10th because that's Columbus Day weekend.
Angus, did you get that? So you could repeat it? I didn't hear it.
The only part I got was the very end, noting that October 10th is Columbus Day, so it couldn't be that.
Can you hear me better now?
Yes, we can hear you better now.
So I would say, do we even need to have a fall town meeting? Just because we can have one doesn't mean we need one. And then that's, I don't need that for an answer right now. And I would not have the meeting, in my opinion, I wouldn't have it in September. We would have it October 3rd or October 17th, because October 10th is the Saturday of Columbus Day weekend. A lot of people are away.
So I think on the question of whether it's needed or not, I think it could be it could end up being a relatively short warrant, but if no other business, the free cash transfer in the fall is always important to get the tax rate where you want it.
Okay.
Well, Glenn, this afternoon, Angus and I looked over the warrant items of the ones that we took no action on in the spring, and to be honest, most of those we could, as much as I hate to say it about the dog waste, we could hold off on those till the spring anyway. So even the ones that we passed over on the spring, we could. I would say we could hold off on those till the spring again. And so all of those that were in abeyance can stay that way probably. So that I don't think obviously we'll if we do decide to have a meeting, we'll look those over. But those probably there's no panic about any of those. So that's good.
My point being that having it on good, and then having it on the October 3rd or the 17th. I wouldn't have it in September. It's just not enough time. We're in August already.
Right. So I think October 3rd would be as early as could potentially happen. And Glenn, I share your concerns 100%. It is really tight. So I get the ball rolling right away with Gary and think through, and especially with the change in composition on the FinCom, and Forbes really carried a lot of the load on that FinCom booklet, and obviously he's no longer on the committee. So, just because we're throwing out dates of October 3rd or something like that does not in any way mean that we've said that that's possible at this point. So it's going to be, we're threading the needle between weather and the actual capacity to pull this off.
The other thing, Glenn, I think we would, and Rick, I think we would want to go, if we do it, we definitely bring down the quorum number too, as we did before.
Yeah, good point.
So, I mean, if we had a thing to sit, if we had like 3 articles and one of them was to, have a free cash transfer to lower the tax rate, that could that should go pretty quickly.
Yeah, it'll be voted down again because I don't want to
I
reduce.
know the people don't want tax decreases anymore, but
Whatever. Okay, so whatever we can do. But my point being is the weather's not that cold in October. That's all I'm saying. We can have an outdoor meeting in October. I wouldn't be afraid of having something in October.
no, my only problem with rain might be bad, but other than that, I don't think cold is an issue.
No, it
Okay.
shouldn't be. You never know. It's probably snowed on whatever date we pick. It's probably snowed one year on that date, but it's not likely to this year.
But the importance of picking an end date is so that we can set up the schedule. So eventually we do have to have that end date. So then we can set up like when they're going to be, when we send out the things from us and when we want them back and all that kind of FinCom. So we have to finally, maybe in the next couple of weeks, come up with an end date.
I don't think we have to decide tonight, but
No.
think about it for our next meeting. What do you want to have for a date? We got to decide at the next meeting.
So Archie, when you say you don't think we need to decide tonight, just, because there is so little time already, don't we want to get the engines going as soon as possible?
So I make a motion that our fall town meeting will be October 17th.
I'll second that.
You're right.
All in favor? Aye.
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 Good job, Rick. Because
I make a motion that the quorum be lowered to 40 for that particular meeting.
Archie, you can't do that.
I can't do that. That's right.
Not
You're
yet.
right. The moderator has, and it has to be
No.
warned. Right. Yes.
We have to send a 7-day notice that you're considering to lower it.
Well, then why don't we make a motion that do we have to make a motion or a vote to get those wheels in motion?
No, well, I mean, we did the notice before, but you can say, just you're gonna discuss lowering the quorum and just pick a meeting. Say
What meeting?
On the
August
17th.
17th.
Sounds good.
Okay.
Mike, I thought that the any special town meeting already had a reduced quorum.
Actually, that could be the case.
It is,
Let me
but it's
take a look.
the money
Because we
item.
did all,
Yeah.
You may be right, Rick.
Hello? The quorum for the quorum for a special town meeting is 40. However, if there are articles on the agenda that require more than $20,000, the quorum
That's the
is,
money.
Casey, I didn't hear the last word, the number at the end.
if the article requires an appropriation larger than $20,000, the quorum is 90.
yeah, but we lowered it.
No, well, if you lower it, you lower it. But the bylaw, the West Newbury bylaw says for a special town meeting, the quorum is 40. But if there is a article which requires more than $20,000 appropriation, the quorum is 90.
No,
So-
we have,
If you
what was it?
lower the quorum, then you lower the quorum, but that's a separate thing.
Rick, to answer your question, our notice was specific to the town meetings held on June 27th.
Yeah, no, I understood that. I was talking in general terms about a special town meeting quorum, and Casey just clarified it. So thank you, Casey.
Okay.
So
Let's get everything in place, that if we can bring down that 90 person for anything over $20,000. Now let's
If
just get
we-
everything and have a discussion on August 17th and make sure that the town is noticed.
Is the emergency legislation still in effect that allowed us to lower the quorum earlier?
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
So, and that's a town moderator decision?
No, it's a Board of Selectmen decision with the consultation of the town moderator.
Okay,
But you have to submit a notice, you have to post notice that you're gonna consider it at least 7 days prior to that meeting. So you
Okay.
couldn't vote it tonight.
Yep.
All you do is you're voting, if you wanna vote tonight, you just vote to put the notice that you're gonna hear it, you're gonna consider lowering it on the next meeting of the board, say on August 17th.
okay.
Okay,
So we will put that proposal to reduce the quorum on the August 17th agenda and work with Mike to make sure that gets posted properly. And so that'll be on your next regularly scheduled agenda.
And Casey will have to attend in order to get her assent to that lowering the quorum.
Casey, are you going to be available on August 17th?
On the
Yes,
17th.
I believe I am. Steve and I have a hearing before the Conservation Commission because we have to have a new septic system put in. But I don't think I need to be at that meeting. I think Steve can probably represent us at that meeting, so I should be available.
Okay.
okay.
So I have a question for Mike, if I could. So if we're talking about October 17th, and if the board is not going to vote to close, to set a date to close the warrant until August 17th at the earliest, that's just 2 months. Can the board, I think I know the answer to this, but can the board set a date for the warrant closing that is prior to, that is other than a meeting date? Because the reason I asked there's a gap of 3 weeks between the regularly scheduled meeting on the 17th and the next board meeting on September 8th. And
Yes.
so it feels like September 8th would be kind of late to close the warrant if we're trying to get everything done for October 17th.
I don't think it has to be that this coexisted with a meeting.
No.
Okay.
No, at a meeting, the board will vote to close the warrant. The warrant will close at a date certain. And that date does not have to be the date of a meeting.
Okay, good. So that's important to know. All right.
Well, you want to give us a date?
Well,
right
I mean,
now
but
that we can vote?
actually, the thing is that they will have, I mean, what you can do is the board can instruct people that there's an end date to submit their articles, and they won't consider anything after a certain date, but they have to vote the warrant. So I'm assuming that, I mean, you really don't have to vote to close the warrant at a date. You just really have to vote to say that you're closing submittal. You're not going to consider articles that were submitted after the date, and then at the next meeting of the board, when they're approving the warrant, they also close it first.
Okay, so the board could vote, and I'm just thinking out loud, but the board could vote, let's say on September 8th to close the warrant, but could have previously sent notice out that they're not going to consider warrant articles received after, let's say, August 31st, something like that.
Right. And the reason I say that is that you kind of a disconnect, because you can't close the warrant because the board hasn't voted the articles to be on the warrant yet. See my point? So,
Yep.
So I have Glenn motion, second by Rick, but no vote taken yet on the motion to have fall town meeting on October 17th.
No, we all vote. We
All
all
right.
vote. we
You
all vote-
voted?
Yes.
Yes, okay, all right, thank you.
Angus, would it be helpful tonight to give you some direction and say that articles from department heads and commissions need to be in by you mentioned August 31st, but it's a Monday, or have them come in by September like 3rd. That would be a Thursday before our meeting, or is that too close to Labor Day weekend?
I think I'd like to think it through with Mike and Casey, and in particular with Gary Roberts, because that sounds okay. But if I work with Gary and review working backwards from October 17th, how much time do they need once that warrant is set? So I'm hesitant to see the board lock in a date, because it may end up needing to be sooner than that.
Okay.
I was just trying to help you. And I won't use this. I'm being told by Adam my new wireless thing is horrible, so I will not use this microphone again. Sorry.
So Archie, I haven't posted for this Thursday evening. We could add to this Thursday's agenda an announcement of a date to close the warrant, if you'd like. And I mean, it's a time crunch, but we're in a time crunch, so and that, because I do think everyone benefits from a deadline, and I think the sooner we can get that thing out there.
It's one phone call to Gary Roberts. And
Yeah. Just make the phone call.
Yeah.
We all agree. We all agree in principle. We just got to pick the day.
Okay, so before I post Thursday's agenda, I'll add a second agenda item to announce the date for the closing of the warrant. Does that sound good?
Yes.
All right.
Okay. We have dealt with item I. So the next item is J. Proposal to modify the policy and rental and use of the town facilities to eliminate the fee for the reservation of the band chair. I read all the emails. I didn't quite understand all the back and forth. So what's the Cliff Notes version here, Angus? Why?
Basically, there's a lot of, in the old days, there were a number of organizations that relied on having access to town meeting space. Now that the indoor meeting space is really entirely unavailable, it occurred to us at the staff level that as some kind of accommodation, should we consider zeroing out the fee to reserve the bandstands? And it would be a modest reduction in paperwork as well, but that's not at all the motivation. The motivation is just to try to show some common cause with some of these groups that are having a hard time finding places to meet.
As long as it isn't creating more work for Annie and you and the police chief and everything, then I don't have a problem with it. In a lot of cases, the board thinking on fees was because we were always the cheapest site for anything in the neighborhood among towns around and stuff. We were getting a lot of calls on everything, and Mike dealt with it too. And the idea of having fees was just simply part of it was to defray some costs, but the other part of it is to like lower the demand actually. So that's all. Just lowering the fees. We don't want you to have to deal with 50 applications. That's all.
Yeah, I would agree. So whatever you would suggest, I would go along with that.
Yeah. The fee wasn't to raise money, it was to keep, keep it from having to deal with it 24/7.
I admit having some mixed feelings of this because I do think it makes sense to, there's no problem if people meet outdoors in the bandstand or not, and I think it is a hardship for a lot of organizations right now to have very limited access to meeting space. The only kind of benefit I see to a fee is that it makes it official. And if there isn't a fee, will people just not reserve the bandstand? And then would you have a situation where people show up intending to use it and there's other groups there? I don't know. You guys have been dealing with a facility rental longer than I have. So I don't know if that's a real concern or not.
No matter if it's a fee or not, they have to have approval.
Well, too.
Mhm.
My point being is that I don't know if you can hear me, but now it's kind of moved between microphone. Is that no matter if it's a fee or not, you have to have approval.
Yes.
Yeah, so then people just don't show up.
Yep.
And if they start showing up unapproved, it's an organization type of thing. A couple of kids are there doing whatever, of course not. But if some type of really organized group shows up there, they need to be kicked out if they don't have approval.
So perhaps if the board is inclined to zero out the fee, that could be a vote that would be made maybe for the duration of the declared public health emergency. And so it would revert to the $25 fee on the other side of this whenever that comes.
That sounds like a good idea. Yeah. And if it turns out to be a major pain in the neck, we can always change things in the interim. So we can always change things back. So I would make a motion to, under the town manager and the Board of Health's recommendation, to waive the fee for the bandstand for the duration of the declared emergency.
I just have some clarification. I forgot the declared emergency. Why don't we say until Angus and whomever, what emergency? Town one, state one? Because the state might do something, but we still might not feel comfortable with stuff. So why don't we just say until further notice? Until we vote again. You know what I mean by that? Or am I being too picky?
I kind of like the idea of linking it to the local emergency because that's something this board will need to take action on anyway. And that helps to ensure it doesn't get lost in the shuffle, that we don't forget to come back to this in the future.
Okay.
Oh, okay. That's a good idea. Okay.
So the motion then is going to refer to the local declaration of emergency.
Right.
Okay, I'll second that. Kemper.
All in favor? Archibald, aye.
Parker, aye.
Kemper.
Thank you.
On next, hang on, I lost it. Request for authorization for the Energy Advisory Committee to represent the Board of Selectmen in application planning for the site plan review of the electric vehicle charging stations at Page and 1910 building. Rick, I'll pass this over to you. But my question is, I thought we had, in the interest of lowering paperwork and making life year that we only needed the site plan review for for one of the sites rather than both, so.
Yeah,
What's going on?
I hear you. This sort of falls into the category of an inch and take a mile, I guess. I spoke with Leah and offered to do site plan review, to go through the site plan review process for the 1910 building. And I got a response from the planning board that pushing to do both. And at this point in time, they've assured me, we'll see how that all works out. I have a meeting on Wednesday with Leah and with Ray Cook and with Chip Wallace, who's on the Energy Committee and going to work with me on this, and to talk through what they expect. But at this point in time, they're asking that we do both. And if it's minimal work, then that's fine. For the sake of, I think the word is comedy, COMITY. For the sake of working with them, for the sake of working with them, I will do that. And, the understanding, the assurance I've been given is that this will be a fairly simple process. I don't think any of us has a ton of time, resource, or certainly nor financial resources to spend on site plan review at this point. It has been approved by town meeting. Drawings were available. Photos were available of what was going to be going on at site plan at town meeting, and it was voted and approved. So there's my answer to your question, Archie. I don't know what you think of that.
Well, what I think about it is, as long as there's no more additional work for Angus or anybody in the town offices, I have no problem with it. And maybe this is a good olive branch, so to speak, to the planning board. So if you feel assured, I have no problem with them looking at a site plan review that they legally, aren't supposed to do. I have no problem with that, and maybe they might be helpful. Might be a good thing. Maybe
That's what I'm anticipating, that there will be some productive comments, and that's what I'm looking forward to, actually.
But I'm not looking for comments that's going to cost any more money when they're not supposed to be looking at something already. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So this might be a good process, and we've gone the other way. Let's try this way and see how it happens. So then we have some good reference points for the next time.
Okay.
So the Energy Advisory Committee met this afternoon, 4:30 this afternoon, so we could get this in before tonight's Board of Selectmen meeting. And, we voted to ask the board for approval or authorization, I guess is the right word, for Chip Wallace and myself on behalf of the Energy Advisory Committee to take these two EV charging station sites through site plan review with the planning board. So
Okay,
if somebody, I don't know if I should make that motion or not, seeing as I'm.
Right, maybe, maybe,
I made the motion. I'm sorry, I was on mute. That I would move that, what Rick said. But Mike, can we do that?
I will second that.
Mike, can we do that?
Yeah.
Yeah, you can do it. Sure.
Okay, I just want to be sure.
All in favor, Archibald, aye.
Should Rick abstain? Or does that matter?
I'm not sure if I should abstain or not, so.
Maybe just abstain, yeah.
I'll abstain.
Okay, Kemper, aye. Before Kemper, aye.
How's the time situation with National Grid? Is the clock ticking, or how are we doing?
So the installation has to be complete by October 31st, which shouldn't be a problem. There shouldn't be an issue. We do at some point have to talk about a maintenance plan. And maybe that's something we could work into an agenda, a Board of Selectmen agenda in an upcoming meeting. Because we need to figure out, I'm going to talk with Gary Roberts about that, with the FinCom to see, I'd like to hear their perspective. But we need to talk about it at a Selectmen's meeting.
Isn't this all approved? Didn't we already have it money approved and all that? And wasn't it like this, it's almost like you go to Best Buy, you get this maintenance plan for X amount of dollars, you get that one for X amount of dollars. So is there really that much discussion?
Well,
I don't know.
It was, I don't know if you recall, Glenn, it was put into the line item budget. It was added to the line item budget and
DPW.
by vote. Yeah, right. So we need to figure out how to accommodate that at this point.
Yeah, but I think that's a thing. Okay, whatever. I'm just trying to make less work for us or whomever. It is what it is. The maintenance program is whatever, and it has to come out of that. Comes out of that thing, and the money was put in there.
No, it wasn't.
Oh, it wasn't?
No,
Yeah.
because it came up later in the budget process, it was part of the, I think, an amended number, and it did not pass at town meeting.
Oh.
So it's gotta either come out of the operating budget or it's got out of like a reserve fund transfer, basically.
Okay.
And the total cost, I believe, was it 12 or 14, Rick? Somewhere in that range for
Now,
stations.
I mean, if it depends upon how we do it. Before when we did it in the line item budget, it was going to be, we were picturing it as an annual response or an annual, not response, an annual cost. But we need to talk about what is the best way to go about doing it. If the least cost solution is to pay for it one time as opposed to making it an annual fee. So
Could this be a fall town meeting warrant article?
it could be. But we need to talk about that.
Okay.
And it's not on tonight's agenda. I'm happy to talk about it, but I'd like to get my ducks in a row beforehand, quite honestly.
I say get it together for town meeting warrant article. That's what I would do.
That'll be at least cleaner if
Yep.
we do that. Yeah.
Right.
Exactly.
Okay.
Yeah, and I think back in the spring,
we
when I was
voted
working with Rick this spring, we thought that might not work because I think we assumed the town meeting would be after the date of install. But Rick, with the dates we're talking about, there might be a way to make that work. So,
Right.
and
So they kind of coincide. It might already be installed by then. If it has to be installed by October 31st, it might already be installed, right?
But if there's a way to do the install or maybe not have them fully sign off on it, there's probably a way to do that if they know that we're going to vote on October 17th.
Right.
Probably be the way that they work with us on that.
Yeah.
If the install happened to happen, a week before that or something, but we can work on that. We can.
Okay, our next item is minutes for July 13th, 2020. I'd make a motion to approve said minutes. Any corrections?
None for me. I'd second.
No.
Okay, all in favor? Archibald, aye.
Parker, aye.
Next item is town manager updates. Work on the potential to establish regulations to allow use of affordable housing. So the town has been in lieu of creating affordable units on some developments over the past few years, the town has collected approximately $200,000 that is theoretically available for use in promoting affordable housing or purchasing or producing affordable housing, but we don't have any means of addressing those, using those funds at the moment. There's no process or procedure in place to access those funds and how to spend them. So one way is to create an affordable housing trust, very big process, and there are other ways that perhaps we can do this easier. So that's what we're just talking about a little bit right now.
That's right. And yeah, there's nothing before the board tonight. I just wanted to make you aware this work is going on in the background. It's something that's been talked about for a couple of years. And I think that the end game could well be a housing trust, and that could be something that makes sense in the future. But there are some immediate needs or potential needs. And so I'm working with Leah and with Ray on behalf of Ray Cook on behalf of the planning board to see if there's a path to get some regulations in place sooner than could happen to create a housing trust that would at least allow us to access those funds if the need arose. Let's say if there was a affordable unit that came up for resale. Right now, under the deed restrictions, we're responsible for marketing that unit and doing a lottery and pre-qualifications and all of that, and we don't have any resource to do that. So the goal is just there a fairly short path to at least put in place some regs that are already authorized in the zoning bylaw. But the wording in the bylaw is a little awkward. It says regulations promulgated by the planning board and approved by the Board of Selectmen. So whatever ends up happening, if we do take that route, is something that will require votes and approval of both the planning board and the Board of Selectmen. So we're still at the discussion stage, but my goal is to get something in place relatively soon because we do have needs and these monies are sitting there and we can't use them without a process.
Angus, compared to, I mean, 200,000 is not much in terms of dealing with any kind of real estate, even property. I mean, even land, let alone land with housing on it. So this, until I would think that communities with housing trusts have trusts that have millions in them, right? Or am I wrong?
No, you're right. I think, the kind of word on, the conventional wisdom 15 years ago was that producing a single affordable unit would be at minimum about $250,000. And that was in the early 2000s. So at this point, it would be more. I mean, even if the town owned the land, the only lower cost option I'm aware of to actually create an affordable unit would be, for example, to make town land available for Habitat for Humanity to come in and do a unit, something like that, which would be a low cost way to produce units. But I think if I understand your point correctly, it's, you're not going to actually create units with that amount of money, but to actually set up a housing program where we have some capacity to actually administer the units we already have, I think would be very high value use of those funds. And frankly, if we don't do it, there's going to be a time I might need to propose something in the operating budget. And I wouldn't like to do that. I don't think people would like to see that, but there are costs associated with complying with all of these regulations.
Well, I thought, if I'm not mistaken, all the affordable housing that we have now for the pipe state, everything we have now, the housing authority does all of the clearinghouse of that and eligibility and so forth and so on. Correct?
Only for the housing authority units, which is, there's a couple of specific developments you're aware of. What I'm referring to is the local initiative program units or LIP units that are within some of the market rate developments where there's a 10% set aside. That 10%.
Okay, so like Ocean Meadow, the one behind the Legion, and then the one down on. Okay.
So,
Yeah,
Because like the apartment building at Page, they do all that for us.
correct.
That was accepted. Yeah, okay.
Glenn, with the market, with the private developments that have an affordable unit, the town becomes the default mediator for finding a new tenant if and
Mhm.
we have to do a lottery and all sorts of stuff that is out
Yep,
of our
yep.
field
Take
of expertise completely. We don't want to be in that business. So I guess this would, having a vehicle in place to be able to even spend a small amount of this money to even, like Angus says, to administer what we already have. I think that's what's driving this.
Yep, yeah, like
Yes.
we could even outsource it
Yeah.
when
Correct.
necessary.
Right.
Okay, thank you.
But just, Angus, as far as that concept, outsourcing it, isn't the Chelmsford Housing Authority or is it Chelmsford that has an organization or a structure? And
That's
they're
right.
actually, they provide that as a service at a cost, right?
That's right. In Westford, we contracted with the Chelmsford Housing Authority, and they performed exactly these kinds of services on behalf of the town of Westford. So yeah, you can contract with them, and basically that you have them on call. So I think if we had funding, I think we could put an agreement in place for free. But then if the need arose, we could pick up the phone and call them, and they or some other qualified vendor could run the lottery and do all the income pre-qualification and the affirmative fair marketing and all of that for a fee. So when I was in Marshfield, we set up the town's first inclusionary zoning bylaw at that time, and we required as a condition of any affordable unit that funds be put into funds specifically for the long-term monitoring and resale, because the developer is responsible for the cost of the initial sale, but on resale, as Archie said, it's the Board of Selectmen, or with Drake's Landing, myself personally, I am the named monitoring agent for those units personally. And so if something comes, I'm legally responsible to get that work done.
Yeah, and by the way, Angus, can you go down there? There's a light out on one of the back porches, and could you collect the rent?
The toilet, it runs a little long. Can you speed it up a little?
So it's a normal learning area, kind of a growing pain issue that a lot of towns have dealt with as more of these LIP units have, come into the market. It's something there've been a lot of workshops on. How do you build capacity to actually do what you're legally, obligated to do?
And just as a digression, people think it must be easy to find people to get into the affordable units, and it's actually not.
It's not.
The regular price units fill up before the affordable housing do it, because the affordable, just the way to qualify, people don't have, it's about assets. You can't have X amount of assets. So older people who have a lot of assets or living on their assets don't qualify. And then people trying to get mortgages and having the down payments, they don't qualify. So they're the ones that the affordable ones generally get occupied at the end, when all the regular market ones are already filled, maybe for a year or two.
That's right. And there's a real, one of the risks that a town runs here, and Mike could elaborate if he wants to, but if the unit is made available for resale and a certain amount of time passes and a qualified buyer, qualified and eligible buyer is not found, the town has, if I remember this correctly, Mike, I believe the town has a right of first refusal to acquire the unit itself, which is not something as a practical matter that would probably happen. And if the town doesn't do that, it could lapse and become a market rate unit, which is obviously a huge risk, because one of the benefits of issuing the special permit in the first place is the affordable units that are generated. So to lose those units would be a very big problem. Is that right, Mike, that there's a scenario where it could lapse?
Yes, that yeah, the unit could become taken out if, you know, a suitable buyer isn't done. And, yeah, I mean, and then of course, because the thing is that the seller has no incentive to get the highest and best price because their profit is limited. So
It only can increase by I think the salary, I forget what it is, but it's like the
CPI and what they paid for it and any capital improvements. It's all designated, but they're limited. So, you know, they could end up selling it for a bargain price. It would be deregulated, and the buyer would then have a bargain because, you know, it would then become a market rate unit. I mean, you know, in 2 days they could, you know, double their money on the value of the property
Oh, I
if it was
see.
taken out.
Okay.
Just one particularly perverse aspect of the 40B regulations.
Exactly. Well, it's not 40B. This is LIP. This is
The
a different
affordable
local
housing
initiative
thing.
project.
Okay.
But the 40B thing, we were talking about the 40B thing. Back in 1969, when this thing was enacted or whatever the heck it was, I think they were thinking more of rental units rather than people buying them. And so they just sit there in Beacon Hill and make these laws and think they're helping people, but they devastate local people. I don't know. It all needs to be revamped.
In what was it? In 1969, they had not even yet enacted the condo law. They weren't created. Any type of joint housing was actually the old-fashioned, you know, cooperative that you see in New York. Those were the only way to have but the condo law didn't come into effect until the 70s.
Interestingly, 40B was, the whole idea was created by Mitt Romney's father. I forget what his name, George Romney. He ran for president, and Nixon, I think, made him HUD secretary or something like that. And so this was his idea for the whole country, but the only state in the nation that actually did it was Massachusetts. So it's Mitt Romney's father basically invented 40B.
It's one of those programs that you do it when you're running for president, so you seem like a good candidate. But you know,
it was actually Nixon's idea. So there's Nixon. It was Nixon's idea, and Romney carried it out. So that's a little trivia. What's up next? I gotta find someone else do it. My phone. Is
Okay,
out.
just next item is just to update on the status of the architectural and design contract for the Soldiers and Sailors building. And I know the board is reiterated the importance of getting that done. So that's on the work plan.
I get a lot of questions why there hasn't been any. I'm getting a lot of questions, and I had one on the walk I did for the 40B. Why they thought because of this construction season, they see people down there, and they were curious if there's something wrong, what's going on. I thought we appropriated the money and that. So we need to get this architectural contract done so we can start moving on that.
Mike, I know you've been buried. Any idea when this might be able to get done?
I'm going to have to delve back into it. And, you know, I got a list of things from Peter that I can incorporate in there and send right on. So I'll pull out that email and send it along and at least get negotiations going on that.
Okay. Yes. As long as we're moving forward, we can maybe do this. Will it be ready for our signatures or whatever approval by our August 17th meeting, or am I being a little too much?
I don't know if what was it? If the board's going to sign, I think it's going to be more like just done through I don't even know if the board needs to sign on it. I think we can do it through the chief procurement officer and town manager.
I do know another group that's very eager on this is the CPC, of course, and I believe their next regularly scheduled meeting is the 20th of August. So I'll need to give them a status update at that time as well. So we're just, Mike, if there's anything any of us can do to help, let us know, because it's important to all of us.
Okay, next item is, let me see, I have it. Okay, update on the reimbursement for the COVID-19 eligible costs. So in reading the correspondence, Angus, it seems like do we do it now or wait till everything's finished, or what do you think is a better way to go with this?
I think, well, we're obviously tracking costs on a current basis, and I think we will be working with FEMA on what's the right time to file with them. As I note in the memo, it's highly unusual because typically when you put in for the costs, the disaster is already complete. And of course, now the so-called disaster or the emergency is ongoing. So we are going to continue to incur extra COVID costs. So that's totally unlike any other FEMA filing. So we're really fortunate to have Leanne Delp. She's got obviously tremendous experience with this and has been a huge asset to the town over a lot of years. So basically the division of labor we've set up between my office and hers is my office will continue to track all of the expenses. We have a really good spreadsheet in place, and we do that on a current basis. And then Leanne is going to be the kind of liaison with FEMA to better understand what's going to work best for them. The other factor noted in here is under the CARES Act, there's a requirement for bi-monthly reporting. And I would have thought, since we're now into the second month of the fiscal year, that we would have gotten some guidance. But up to this point, the state has not issued guidance on what's that reporting going to look like. What's the timing? When's the first report due? And what's that going to include? Obviously, our preference would be to kind of have that reporting, which we're going to need to do anyway, dovetail with our reporting of costs, so that we could, at least with the CARES Act, for instance, maybe as often as bi-monthly, submit an updated statement to the Commonwealth of what costs we've incurred with CARES. The math gets pretty complicated because anything eligible for FEMA is discounted by 75% with CARES because of the expectation that FEMA may or would be expected to reimburse the remaining 75%. So there's a lot of accounting questions. For instance, if the CARES filing was only, let's say you had an expense that you knew was $100, and so CARES gave you $25. Well, as Stephanie is working to close out the prior fiscal year, is she transferring that full $100 over to that CARES expense line out of the expense budget, or is she only transferring $25? And if she's only transferring $25, then your paper trail doesn't line up because your hit against that account doesn't align with the actual invoice for $100. So there's just a host of questions. And in fact, we're aware some towns have added staff specifically just to deal with the CARES and the FEMA. So obviously, we're doing what we can.
So theoretically, no, but that's not so. Could we hire to if you guys are like overwhelmed with new tasks and so forth, could we hire someone who would then their cost would then be reimbursable itself?
I think Potentially, but one of the problems is if you let me give a good example that's a little simpler. So Wayne had put out a suggestion a couple of weeks ago that he thought we would benefit from a couple of these mobile signs that have the, that you can put up the illuminated signs to talk about road closure, that kind of thing. And he suggested that that's something that could help with COVID and getting the word out about different things. And we all thought, hey, that's an interesting point. But we didn't include that in any of our estimated costs. But let's say we went ahead and purchased those and they cost a fair amount of money. Let's say that we then don't get reimbursed, but we've now expended the money. So that's one of the things we don't know is I think you're onto something, Archie, but do we know that we would get that reimbursement? And I don't know the answer today. We're learning as we go along. I mean, I've dealt with FEMA filings as well in my prior lives, but the CARES is something new, and obviously the Commonwealth and the feds put out the guidance. They were under duress as well. They were working, and turning things out very quickly. So, it's pretty unusual in my experience to not have the guidance on these bi-monthly reports yet, but I think everybody's scrambling. So all I can say is I think that while we have a small team and we're very stretched, there's no doubt about that. I think we also have a very good team. And I think with Leanne's help, especially with the FEMA side of things, we'll get the answers we need. But that's a great question. And that's something we can add to our list to look into that specifically. Because right now we have some temporary part-time help with Mike Morris on the accounting side and Merida Pinto helping us. They're both helping us actively. They were both in today, for instance, helping us close out FY20. And some of that backlog of paperwork could definitely be attributed to COVID. There's no doubt about that. So if we can claim credit for that and get reimbursed for some of those expenses, that would be a big plus.
Okay. What's
Memorial, but there's still tension. Players will tell you. What else is there? We have the future agenda.
yes?
Something I wanted to talk about. Is that okay?
Yeah.
It has to do with the school committee. I was listening on the school committee a meeting the other night, and more particular the thing about the decision about the mascot. And there were people on the school committee that want to ask the selectmen for a referendum question on the mascot. What I would like to do, maybe put it on a future agenda or just decide tonight and send them a letter either way. But I don't want to get involved in school committee policies or education. And I think it would be a bad precedent for us to start delving into decisions that the school committee needs to make and push them off to the towns. So I would not be in favor of, I'm just trying to head it off to the past so it doesn't come in, so they understand our wants and wishes if we vote this way. So it doesn't create more paperwork for us, more time and stuff. Everything that we hear stretched during this time and place in our lives right now and trying to manage West Newbury. So I would not be in favor at all of delving into decisions that the school committee needs to make. I think that's an educational decision. I think that's a school committee decision and should not be pushed to the towns. I just think that it would set a bad precedent of decisions they need to make about the school district and then pushing them off to the town. I don't like it. And I would actually like to send them a letter to the superintendent and tell them that we had listened to the the meeting and we would not be in favor of any such thing. That's my 2 cents.
Well,
Yes.
yeah, I mean, in the opposite situation, we might not like something that the school committee had decided, and so we're gonna have a referendum telling the school committee what to do about something just because we didn't, the town of West Newbury or the selectmen or whoever didn't like something they did in the opposite direction.
That's actually a good point. I never thought of it that way, but you're right.
That they wouldn't like that either. So just handing off the hard decisions to the town that's not what. No, I agree with you.
Yeah, I agree too. I mean, I saw I watched the section of the school committee meeting where they talked about this issue, and, it just struck me as attempting to pass the buck on a hard decision. And it is, in my mind, clearly a school issue, not a town issue. And I think the school committee needs to just face the issue and deal with it. And it's not, we all have, everybody has difficult decisions to deal with. We're going to have a tricky conversation, I'm sure, on Thursday, regarding usage of pipes day. But, we're not going to try to pass it on to somebody else. So I don't think it's within our purview. And I think we should advise the school committee that's the case.
So how do we go about doing that? Do we send a letter? Does Angus send a letter? Do we have a letter formulated? And then I would prefer to keep Angus out of it.
Glenn, we weren't formally asked, so I don't think we formally have to reply.
Yeah, but I don't want to be formally asked because that creates paperwork and that creates meeting time. That requires time for Angus. I'm just trying to.
Okay.
I mean, we heard. We weren't formally asked, but we could just say, "Hey, listen, we attended your meeting virtually when you had the discussion. West Newbury Selectmen have no interest in doing a referendum question. This is a school committee member decision, and that's how we feel."
Well, I think we should simply inform the West Newbury representatives that is our feeling, and they should so inform the rest of their board.
That's a good way to do it, Archie. That makes sense.
Actually, yeah, I like that. So but then again, how do we do that? Does Angus send that? Does Mike send that? Do we send that? Do you send that as the chairman? What do we do?
Or do we do it verbally? Do we just give them a phone call? Each of us could choose a school committee member, or I don't want to add another responsibility to what Angus has to deal with. And I think this is something we can deal with.
Okay, but I'd like to have it a more formal thing. We talked about it at our meeting last night, and we voted that we would not be interested in it. Could you please pass that on to whomever? That sound good or no?
Yeah.
Okay, so I'd make a motion that we wouldn't entertain a referendum question that was about changing the mascot from the school committee.
Okay, I'll second that. But then in discussion, who's going to write that letter?
Well, you said we're going to call. So if you want to assign somebody to make sure we get in touch with all 3 members, I could email them, or Mike can email them, or whomever, whatever. Make it easy. It's just a 1-sentence email. There's no dialogue back and forth.
Okay.
All right, I'll write it. I'll give it to you, Glenn, and you email it.
Okay, sounds good.
Great.
Okay.
And I'll certainly bring it up in the next discussion I have with Justin. I'll certainly bring it up. I won't make it a separate item, but I talk to him pretty routinely, so I'll certainly bring it up in conversation.
Great.
Perfect.
Thanks.
Okay, upcoming things. I think I want to. We've mentioned this before, and in terms of the discussion with the FinCom about some of the things that happened at the recommendations and criticisms of the FinCom and at town meeting. But I would, the FinCom to me is still not, they don't have all their new, they don't have a new, they still lacking a new member. So I would put that on hold until the new FinCom is a full new FinCom. That's sort of the way I feel with it. I don't want to like have us and the FinCom discuss things until they're a full committee again.
Well,
Does that seem reasonable to you guys?
can you hear me?
Yes.
Yeah, that sounds reasonable, but not reasonable in the sense that we need to move on, and whoever gets appointed can, and that could be part of their whatever decisions are made or whatever. Because I think we might want to get this worked out before fall town meeting, and who knows, we might not have a new FinCom member by then. There were some pretty legitimate, I thought, concerns by some taxpayers. And if we go through
I agree. I'm just talking about the process.
But if we go through another town meeting without addressing these, I think that would be kind of disingenuous to, like we weren't listening. Since we are the appointing authority.
Right. What do you think, Rick?
I don't have a good opinion on it. I guess I'm reluctant to wait because we have no idea how long it's going to take before we have a full FinCom.
Okay. I guess I didn't anticipate that it was going to be this hard to get another person. But I certainly don't.
Maybe we need to work these things out so somebody else would want to do it.
I certainly would like to I will talk to Gary. I'll reach out to Gary and talk to him myself, and maybe we can come to an agreement when if we want to do it at a separate meeting or a quick meeting at some point, or a part of a selectman meeting. So I'll talk to Gary.
Just a quick point, Archie, to your point about having a new member. If a new member is on board, the questions or the concerns that people had won't have anything to do with them.
No, I realize that, but sort of the philosophy of what.
Yeah. You're right.
Should be doing, they should know about that too, and especially as a new member. That's all. But okay, maybe we won't have one, so that's a thing. Okay. So any other items for future agendas?
No.
Okay.
No, not that I have.
Motion
Make
to
a motion
adjourn.
to adjourn.
Second.
All in favor? Aye.
Good meeting. Thank you.